Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is you're listening to this.
Yeah.
You have tuned in once again to Tome Travelers.
Indeed, and we're getting back into Battletech. We had some ideas about what we were going to do with the show, but we're just going to go ahead and kind of stick with the character creation portion this turnaround. Now, right now, the current iteration of MechWarrior or Battletech as an RPG is A Time of War, currently out by Catalyst.
Correct.
So, since we kind of stick to the older books a little bit, talk about the ones that used to be, we're going to go ahead and use one of the older books to make the character. Now, this isn't a terribly older book. This is Classic Battletech RPG, which is actually the book that came out alongside the MechWarrior Dark Age tabletop clicks game. So this is the game that was put out by FanPro, otherwise known as Topps, which everybody who's ever collected baseball cards in their life knows who Topps is. I mean, it's right there printed on the corner of them.
Oh, yeah. I have lots of Topps cards.
And so, interesting system. We are going to end up rolling 2d6, adding it together for a lot of your rolls when it comes time.
Yep.
But we have to, first and foremost, kind of come up with a concept for the character. Now, I like the character creation in this, for an interesting reason, and that it is kind of a narrative-style character creation, much like Traveler, where you're creating your character's history as you create their stats.
But you can't die in this character creation like you can in Traveler, right?
Yeah, well, it's Traveler. They kind of the whole dying part is gone, but you can end up in old age, which is interesting.
Yeah. I will say I am on the outside end of being sick, so I am going to be sounding a little rough for this episode.
Yeah.
Might be some sniffles, a couple little coughs, but
anyway, so we're looking at classic Battletech RPG.
Yep.
And
we are ready to build a character.
And as we go through character creation, a lot of things slowly become evident with this game that we'll probably talk about. Because, I've always said character creation is a great way to get to know a game. The rules, how things work, how things come together. And I think as we go through this, you'll see a lot of the inner workings of this game and what makes it work and sometimes what doesn't make it work.
Right.
So our first thing that we're looking at is we have to figure out where your character came from.
Where did I come from?
So, we've touched on this. Battletech has this great political structure that, kind of everybody was once a part of the Star League, then the Star League fell apart, and now you have all these different areas of the world or universe where people have moved to for different reasons. People have drawn lines along ethnic boundaries yet again in the world. Like for instance, you have the Draconis Combine, which is House Kurita, which has strong Japanese leanings as far as like our world goes. Mm-hmm. You have the Federated Sun, which is kind of, somewhere that's kind of American, but kind of the Western nations of Europe, England and Spain, everything else, because there is kind of a monarchy to it.
Okay.
But at the same time, House the Federated Suns, otherwise known as House Davion, reminds me of like the main family in Dune. What was that family?
The Atreides or whatever?
Atreides, yeah, House Atreides. That's who they remind me of. And Dune kind of reminds me a lot of, it's like, I think that was part of their, what was in their mind when they made a lot of this was, you have this different houses, different groups going to war, political structure kind of stuff.
Right.
You've got the Capellan Confederation, which is House Liao, which has the Mandarin Chinese kind of motif to it. Mm-hmm. You have House Merrick, otherwise known as the Free Worlds League.
Okay.
The Lyrian Alliance, also sometimes known as House Steiner, which, the name Steiner, you should already guess, German. Mm-hmm. And, this is one that I think you'd like, the Free Rosselhag Republic. Mm. It is mainly Swedish, but it's an interesting thing where it is a republic with an elected king, I believe. something along those lines. I mean, it sounds really odd when you say it that way, but yeah, they elect a ruler, but it's it's one of those things where it's not necessarily a family lineage kind of thing. It's kind of, I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and that was the Free Rosselhog Alliance.
Free Rosselhog Republic. We have the Periphery, which has some smaller little groups, dotted here and there. They're like the true underdog outside the realm kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
We have the clans, which you and I have talked about the clans before, and you're not a big fan of it. But they're the genetic super soldiers that, when the Star League collapsed, they went beyond our known universe and never thought we'd hear from them again. Came back, and here they are invading to retake over the core universe that they believe is truly theirs by some sort of either divine or genetic right.
Oh, okay.
And so it's really interesting because you don't hate them too much, but it's one of those things where I was always very intrigued by the clan, especially because the MechWarrior game surrounded them, surrounded the Jade Falcon clan. But, and I was just like, wow, they're kind of cool and everything else. But, when you think of it from the outside perspective of here come these guys, they're genetic super soldiers, and they're like, we're not good enough to be mech warriors or leaders or anything else. You're just going to be our workers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's oppression.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And so, of course,
oppression everywhere, even in games.
Yep.
Is that it for things to choose from?
Yes, that is it.
I tend to play characters that are always kind of. My comfort zone, I guess, is characters that are kind of on the not necessarily outcasts, and not really even necessarily black sheep, but they're not. They're your lowborn, average sort. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not of any kind of noble house. I almost avoid nobles as a rule.
Well, empires that are either government or religious usually you steer away from.
Right. But for the sake of this, I think I'm just gonna play around a little bit and step out of my comfort zone, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with somebody a little bit more noble, or that is coming from.
So not the Periphery.
Not the Periphery.
Okay.
I'm probably going to go ahead. I do like. I'm always trying to base my characters off of people, and I have a name in my head. Because I've actually been talking to my dad a little bit about our heritage and our genealogy, and I have Norwegian ancestry.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm going to go ahead and do the Free Rosselhog Republic to create my Thomas Engelman character. That's the name that's in my head. That was well, we believed it was it's funny, I have this name in my head. This actually is not my great grandfather's name, but it's what everybody thought my great grandfather's name was, until I learned the other day that is not the case.
Oh. Okay, so just to touch on a little bit of everything. I mean, so yeah, they broke away from other groups. They went and formed their own section of the universe.
Okay.
And, as it reads in the book, the coming of the clans in 3050 nearly destroyed Free Rosselhog. Savage clan assaults claimed world after world. By the time the clans signed the truce Taviad in 3052, the Republic had shrunk from 84 worlds to 7, and the Kungsarm Republic military had fallen to 26 regiments from 206. Wow. The current elected Prince Regent, Kristen Mansdaughter, had greatly increased the military size and lessened the general dislike of mercenaries, but he's facing new problems. There you go, right directly into the politics. But yeah, so there is a elected Prince Regent.
Okay.
So not a king, a prince. My bad.
All right.
The primary language of this area is Swedish.
All right.
Secondary languages are English, Japanese, Swedenese, and German.
Okie dokie. Swedenese. So is that a combination language?
Yeah,
I've never heard of that in real life.
I figure it's some sort of polyglot where a couple languages have come together to form its own variation.
Okay.
So, it'd be like, the local spoken.
Okay, more colloquial.
Yeah. So, bonus skills. Negotiation +1.
All right.
Interest any +1.
Okay.
And all FRR characters who join a mercenary, there's a lot to write. I mean, basically, it's so if you join a mercenary unit at any time, you receive the stigma trait.
Oh, okay.
You do have a restriction. The Republic is saturated with orphans. Characters may not take the street path of stage 1. Instead, they may take the clan war orphan path.
Okay.
So, interesting way to get that all started.
Okay, cool.
So now we enter into early childhood. And this is where it becomes like the narrative, which I guess recently, thinking about it. So, I mean, this has the narrative path style. So does, Traveler. And now that I'm thinking about it, so, this might also be closer to Ninja Crusade, where you start your character off and you're doing all the, building the character piece by piece at their lifetime.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. So, I mean, yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know. We'll have to ask and see if this had any impact on that. So who knows?
True.
All right. So your first stage that you need to be deciding stuff of is early childhood.
Alrighty.
So your early childhood choices, it's the formative years are vital to character development. Many attributes and personality traits are dramatically affected at this stage, which, yeah, of course. So are you backwoods? Are you blue collar? Are you a clan or orphan? Are you from the farm? Are you a fugitive? Are you nobility? Are you street? Or are you trueborn? Which, of course, obviously, we're not going to be trueborn because that's clan only. Or are you white collar? And that's it. Those are your early childhood choices there. Do you need me to repeat any of them?
No, I heard the one that I want. I'm going to go ahead and stick with my concept, and I'm going to go noble.
Noble, cool. I would have thought you would have gone with orphan. But, okay, neato.
Nope, I'm going to go out the box this time.
Okay, noble. Most inner sphere and periphery societies maintain a ruling noble class into which you were born. Living a life of privilege, you have somewhat neglected your physical development in favor of more cerebral pursuits. You end up with an attribute minimum of Society 5. Mm-hmm. You have attribute thresholds of Strength -1, Body -1, Reflex -1, Intelligence +2, Charisma +2, and Society +1.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's Intelligence +1 and Charisma +1.
Okay.
Your traits for this start is wealth, well-equipped, and enemy.
Mm.
So
already at early childhood.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm the son of some noble?
Yep.
Is that what the idea is? Okay.
It's not your fault you have an enemy. It's your family's fault.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Dad.
So your skills. You get language affiliation +1 and protocol affiliation +2, which affiliation is probably going to mean for this section of space that you're from.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right. And so now we do the fun part, which is figuring out what your next path in life is.
Okay.
Your choices are preparatory school, or actually, sorry. I skipped something.
Oh.
We need to do your events.
Oh. Yes.
We have to figure out something has happened to you in your life that during this time, so you need to roll 2d6.
Alrighty, I have them right here, and we are looking at 8.
8. Wow. For that one, your family was stinking rich.
Oh, wonderful.
You have wealth and are well equipped.
I continue to be wealthy and well equipped at my young age.
All right. Awesome. Well, now we step into the next area.
Okay.
And that is preparatory school or military school. What's your choice?
Being as I have pursued, I have focused on more cerebral pursuits and left my physical well-being a little bit untended to, I'm going to skip out on military school because that sounds like a drag. And we're going to go to prep school.
Okay.
Excuse me.
No problem. Now, in the book, it says that as you exit this stage of your life, when you get out of stage 2, your character will be 16 years of age.
Okay, cool.
So, preparatory school. Preppies. You know, that word.
I was never part of that crowd.
You were never...
I was never part of...
You were never Zach from Saved by the Bell?
Oh, no. No, God.
I
mean, he was cute and all, but what a D-bag.
Yeah. Slater always calling him Preppy.
Preppy. Well, he was rude, because didn't he call his girlfriend Egghead?
Yeah, he was a
jerk.
Yeah, he was very much the chauvinist kind of character.
Maybe he didn't call her Egghead. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but...
I think he did call her something, but yeah.
That was the most ridiculous relationship. Those two never would have gotten together in real life.
No.
They would not have even known each other's names.
I don't know. The school only seemed to have like 7 kids.
7 students in every class, yeah. Well, and that whole it brings up a whole other thing when you realize that the first Saved by the Bell that had Zach and Lisa and Screech took place in I think it was in Bloomington, Indiana. And
Weird.
Back in the middle school years, the very first Saved by the Bell, and then they went to high school and suddenly they're in Bayside and they're in California. And the principal and I think Mr. Belding was at the other one.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't. But yeah, the ones with Haley Mills,
creepy.
They're like Midwest.
It's like they were a commune or something. They just moved.
They just all transplanted.
Okay, so maybe they were clan, instead of...
Oh my God, I hope they're not super soldiers.
All right, so preparatory school.
Mm-hmm.
These exclusive schools prepare young adults for higher learning.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Theoretically, they have superior curricula.
Yeah, whatever.
But this is not always true in practicing on keg stands. Now I'm adding that last part. The main advantage of attending such a school is the contacts you make among the upper class students and their parents.
Oh, so it's all networking.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Sounds about right.
I have to play Eddie Haskell.
The attribute threshold is society +1.
Okay.
You get the traits of well-connected.
Awesome. I'm even more well-connected.
Very much so.
I was well-equipped before, my bad.
Yeah. Well, as we move through this, you'll actually get ratings for some of these, and they'll go up and down.
Okay.
Because it's kind of, it's really interesting that in that way, it kind of reminds me of White Wolf, where you can have a merit, and that merit can have degrees.
Okay.
It's not like a feat.
Okay.
So, all right. So, skills. Academic, NE +2.
Super smart. Okay, cool.
Computers +1.
Awesome.
Language, NE +1.
I'm just a chatterbox.
Protocol affiliation +2.
So protocol, we're just talking
how you get along in society.
Okay, so it's just behavior, conduct kind of thing. It's not protocol is such a technical. It sounds like a very technical, almost clinical term that I'm not thinking in terms of conduct or behavior. I'm thinking in terms of procedure and things like that. But cool. No,
and I'm certain to some extent it might also include some of the legal background. These are things that in such a far-flung society probably are things that you would want to test because you as a player might not know this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and do the next part. This is the next fun part. You get to roll your 2d6 again, and we'll figure out what happened to you.
Snake eyes. That is 2.
Ooh. Developed expensive and illegal tastes.
Oh, my favorite.
Addiction 2. Poverty. Streetwise affiliation +1.
So I have super fallen. At 16, I have gone from being stinking rich to being impoverished. My parents have they must have cut me off.
They must have cut you off, and it's you doing what?
Or they have given me so much. They've given me money, and I have immediately just blown it up my nose.
Yeah.
So, or in my arm, or whatever, however they do drugs in this far-flung future.
All right. So that we definitely have an idea right there with where your character's going. And like I said, this is what helps create the narrative, why your character is the way it is when we get done.
Okay.
So your next path, you have some choices. Technical college, university, military academy, New Avalon Institute of Science.
Ooh.
But that one is Federated Sons or Lion Alliance only. Sorry.
I can't be a scientist.
Nope.
For my cerebral pursuits.
Of whatever you're blowing up your nose. No.
Well.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Ne'er-do-well is also your last choice. Which out of those do you think you'd go with?
I think I'm going to go with the oft overused development arc of rich kid falls on hard times. Part of his getting back in with his parents, they're like, "We'll bring you back, but you gotta go to military school. You gotta learn some discipline."
Wow, yeah, that works, and it creates a narrative that people can follow. So yeah, let's do that. So military academy. Oh. It's one of those things where if you're playing a character in the clan, and this is something I just want to point out. So as going through character creation, if you wanted to be a clan character, you're only getting one selection per any of these.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's something I want.
Your path is kind of...
Your path is set.
You're railroaded.
Yeah, you are told that your character obviously comes from the clan area. Not a big deal. You get to choose a clan. Big deal. But any other character who wants to be out and about the universe, you have all these other houses and other things to choose from, while with the clans, boom, your clan. Your early child development, boom, your only choice is Trueborn. If you want to, if you really want to be part of the adventure, and you want next level of development, boom, soldier training camp. I mean, you don't get these choices. So it's kind of an interesting thing to see as we're going through this. I'd like to point out.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so back to the character creation. So stage 3, higher education. All right, so military academy is what you said, right? Okay.
Correct.
So the finest warriors in the Inner Sphere graduate from many military academies operated by the successor states. Some have unique curricula, and so the following represents an average academy or participation in a mercenary apprenticeship. This path does not necessarily represent officer training, but rather a higher grade of training than the available through standard enlistment. Academy training differs from basic military enlistment, mainly in granting access to additional fields of study, including MechWarrior and aerospace fighter pilot training. So after completing military training, a character must complete at least one tour of duty in the real life stage, which we'll get there.
I have to do a tour of duty in real life?
Yes.
Ugh, that's the worst place.
All right. So the time is going to move differently as we go through this part, because unlike the previous years where everybody came out at 16 years of age, going through this can take time.
Okay.
So you will automatically spend 1 year in the military academy.
Okay.
Your attribute minimums are intelligence 3, will 3, and society 3.
Okay.
Your thresholds go up again. Reflex +1, body +1, will +1, and society +1.
Okay.
Your traits are promotion and well-equipped.
Return to well-equipped.
So much fun.
I've shed the impoverished. I'm back to being well-equipped. Not wealthy, but well-equipped.
Your skills this time around, we have academic military history +2. It's a mouthful. Leadership +1. Protocol affiliation +2. And swimming +2. So now you can swim.
Yeah, woo. So now I can swim. And actually academic military history, I actually did very well in military history when I was in school. I took U.S. military history for 1 semester my senior year.
Awesome.
And it was a great class.
Was it taught like by your ROTC teacher, or was it just...
No, it was actually... It's funny. The only reason I took that class is because... I don't know, this is kind of a tangent, but after... I was in school when 9/11... Or not 9/11, that too, but when Columbine happened.
Oh.
Right after Columbine, they instituted in my school what they call connections. And this was a class that took the place of like your homeroom once a month. And it was students, it was just a random selection of students that you were thrown in a class with from all grades. And it was supposed to make us branch out of our normal social groups and our normal areas.
How odd. I've never even imagined that.
And they put us in this class, and Mrs. Daniels was my teacher for connections. And we would just do team building social exercises essentially. So, but it put freshmen and I was a sophomore that year when it was instituted. And so it put me in groups with freshmen, a few other sophomores, but it was like a number of students from and it was there was no academic part to it. It was just meet your fellow students, make new friends, understand that there are different people that you might not always run with. It was supposed to, I guess, keep us from doing what happened at Columbine.
Weird.
Is try to fish out. But anyway, I really liked that teacher. And so when it came around for senior, she taught history, but I couldn't have her because I think she was in freshman classes, but she also taught U.S. military history. So I specifically took it just to be in her class. But it's interesting that we were brought together from Columbine because it was in her class. My senior year, I was a late arrival student, and I came in and I was sitting in military history when the kid who sat in front of me came in and said, "Did you hear a plane hit the World Trade Center?" And we were all like, "What?" Because we were imagining like a biplane hitting the Empire State Building like has happened before, We weren't imagining
what was 9/11.
What ended up happening. But yeah, I was in her class in military history for 9/11 my senior year. But
yep. Weird tangent, but yeah,
sorry.
I was at Texas A&M. I was working at Texas A&M at Kane Hall when that happened. Mm-hmm. And so, that's just...
It's crazy.
Yeah, everybody, I think everybody remembers where they were when that happened. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I actually have somewhere, I still have it. We took our class senior pictures that day, which were the big, massive group photos. And I actually had to leave in the middle of that class to go take that picture. And so all my entire senior class is out on these risers outside because when we went outside, only one plane had hit. And when we came back in, I feel like the towers were just starting to fall when we got back inside. Man. So anyway, wild tangent. I'm sure that'll be cut out.
No, but it's one of those things where this is the kind of stuff that comes up when you get into gaming. We talk. The game is just the vehicle.
Yeah.
Talking and spending time with each other is what we're actually doing.
But yeah, so when I think of military history, my mind immediately goes to 9/11 because that's where I was.
Yeah. So when we left off, though, where was I? Did I do...
You had just given my skills. I had, I think you listed them all. I'd gone all the way down through swimming.
Yep. Your fields are basic training.
Okay.
And your next path is the advanced individual training. So before we get there, I keep forgetting this part. Yeah, we need to have you roll your 2d6.
Okay.
I wish they would. Let me say this as a book organizer and a person who's worked on books. I wish they had put the path advancement after rolling, because it's actually lined up to where the path advancement is given and then all the rolling takes place.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
That is 11.
11. So you graduated at... Am I reading this right? Yeah. You graduated at the top of your class.
Ah.
Wow.
I'm just
lucky,
really
lucky
tall.
Devil. So you get a promotion.
Ooh, more promotions.
You get a vehicle.
Ooh.
Rating 4. Custom vehicle.
Ooh.
May take officer candidate school next, then return and continue the life path from the same point.
Heck yeah.
So you definitely want to do that?
Yeah, let's go to Officer Candidate School.
Okay, Officer Candidate School it is. Let me find that. There it is. Okay. Oh, it's not so bad. Okay, so... All right. Officer Candidate School is another year.
Okay.
You have an attribute threshold of Charisma +1. Your traits is Commission rank 1. Fields, Officer Training. And your next path, per last path followed, add to its next path option the Tour of Duty Social General path if the character has line affiliation, which you don't, so...
Forget it.
Yep.
Nix that.
Nope.
Waste of breath.
So we return, and you go into advanced individual training, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's next.
Okay.
Oh, I shouldn't know that.
No, I read that off earlier before I started the dice roll. So your time at this is going to be 2 years.
Okay.
So far, you're going to end up spending 4 years in military academy of some sort.
Excuse me, sorry.
Your traits are promotion.
Yay, more promotions. I've never gotten this many promotions in my real job.
Yeah. Dash doll. Leadership is going to get +1.
Okay.
And you're going to add +1 to 3 basic training skills.
Oh, awesome.
And +1 to any other skill.
Okay.
Now, from there, we're going to choose a field.
Okay.
Choose one of the following fields. It's Aerospace Pilot, Aircraft Pilot, Armored Infantry, Cavalry, Dropship Pilot, Infantry, Marine, MechWarrior, Scientist, Scout, or Ship's Crew. And this to touch on really briefly, because it's some of our listeners might not even know this. Aircraft is, suborbital piloting. Aerospace is, like basically ships that can go out into outer space and do dogfighting out there. Mm-hmm. And a dropship is this massive, massive ship
that drops troops.
Well, it's shaped like an egg, and
yeah,
it's this giant ship that looks like a giant egg, and it is usually capable of, basically the hyperspace, light speed travel kind of stuff. This is the ship
really?
Everybody hops on and goes everywhere.
Okay, so it's a personnel carrier.
Yeah. And they'll also, some of them are, smaller and have a couple mechs on them, and they drop down to the atmosphere there. Yeah.
Yeah, in the games that I play, drop ships are usually suborbital. They come off the bigger aerospace ships. Yeah. And they're used to just drop troops into a combat zone.
In this game, at least the portions of it that I have played, the drop ships are actually capable of the FTL, faster than light travel throughout the universe, and that way they don't. It allows for quicker invasions.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't even know if you really needed to ask, but of course I'm going to choose MechWarrior.
Okay, so your field is MechWarrior.
MechWarrior.
Might as well. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game, isn't it?
The name of the game, quite literally.
So now from there, we got your next path, which is Tour of Duty, Covert Ops, Special Training, which is part of this pass. Take the character, enters Scientist, Dropship Pilot, Infantry, Marine, MechWarrior, Armored Scout, Infantry, or Scouts.
Well, it sounds like I need to do Special Training then.
All right, so we're going to do Special Training.
Alrighty.
Let's see here. Special Training. Am I looking in the right place?
Probably not.
Probably not. That is another thing with this book, is sometimes it's kind of hard to follow.
Okay.
Let me guess. It's right back where I was. Yes, it was. I was expecting, because it said that it kind of gave this idea that it was this new path. Nope. It is in the same general section in a little subheading further down.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
Good looking out there, boss.
Okay, so subpath Special Training. Your time for this one is another 3 years.
Wow, okay.
You're spending a lot of time in school. You must well be a doctor. So, attribute threshold, add +1 to any threshold of the player's choice.
Okay.
Your skills are going to be leadership +1, +1 to 3 basic training skills, and +1 to half the character's AIT skills round up, and +1 to any other skill. So this is like really building a character there.
Yeah.
So traits, promotion,
yeah,
wealth.
Oh,
there it is.
There it is. I got it back. took me what, 5 years?
Yeah.
But I got my wealth back.
Well equipped.
And I am yet even more well equipped.
Your fields. You choose one of the following fields. So doctor, jump ship pilot, military scientist, special forces, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Special forces does include an infantry, marine, mech warrior, armored infantry, or scout field required. Jump ship, drop pilot is required. So
I am gonna go special forces.
Special forces. All right. So you're going into next path, covert ops or tour of duty. But if you go covert ops, only special forces or military scientists are allowed to do that. So tour duty or covert ops.
I've already had to do a tour of duty in real life, so I'm going to do covert ops.
Dun, dun, dun,
and I mean
dun,
my
dun.
character. My character's had to, I have never had to do a tour of duty, although I feel like every day is one in real life. But no, my character had to do the TOD and IRL.
Let's see. All right. Covert ops. Your nation summons you to perform well beyond the call of duty.
Silent but deadly.
You will earn significant rewards if you survive. The player determines a specific duty covered by this path, ranging from sabotage and infiltration to assassination and fomenting rebellion.
Covered duty? It is silent but deadly.
Choose appropriate subskills based on your character's particular tasks.
I want to choose an inappropriate subskill.
All right.
Sorry, my medicine must be kicking in.
So time, I roll a d6. Just a single
one?
d6, yeah.
4.
All right, so you're going to be, this is going to take about 5 years grand total because it's 1d6 plus 1 years. Your traits are alternate identity, wealth, well-equipped, enemy level 3,
Oh, crap.
and in for life.
Oh. Which doesn't necessarily mean that I'm that loyal or committed. It just means I'm going to die soon.
All right, so
we estimate your chances of survival at bad.
So your skills are going to be disguise 2.
Disguise?
Disguise.
This guy. Okay, go ahead.
Fast talk +2. Perception +2. And then you're going to choose any 3 of the following. This is quite a list, so listen up. Acting, blades, computers, cryptography, demolitions, escape artist, forgery, gambling, interrogation, language any, leadership, martial arts any, pistols, protocol, seduction, streetwise, and tactics infantry.
I like the sound. Oh, what?
It's just a heck of a list.
That is a heck of a list. Now, a lot
choose
of those.
only 2. I'm sorry, 3. Choosing 3.
Yeah, it's one of those things. A lot of those, or some of those, I've gotten from other things in my background.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried. I'm going to pick some that I don't have.
Okay.
I think out of that list, I liked cryptography.
Okay, cryptography
I've always
+2.
been fascinated in real life by that stuff. Demolitions sounds fun.
Demolitions
Boom,
will be
boom.
a +2, yeah. Especially
And
covert ops.
Let's do let's go ahead and we're gonna go completely out of my comfort zone, and we're gonna do some martial arts.
Martial arts, cool. Okay, so that's a martial arts any. So we'll end up selecting that. And now it is time for your next path.
Oh, alrighty.
You have a choice. Oh, sorry, I did it again. Guess what?
Oh, I need to roll.
Roll your 2d6.
That is 4.
4. Ooh. Oh, that's fun. Nosy reporter uncovers your identity. You gain good reputation, level 2. You have a enemy.
Well, yeah, because apparently I was undercover.
Yep. And you lose your alternate identity trait. So you got to scratch that one out.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. But as a result,
I don't even remember getting that one. Oh,
Yeah.
there it is. I wrote it down. I don't even remember writing it down. Okay, cool.
And so finally, ne'er-do-well, travel, tour of duty intersphere, or Yakuza. Now, I think what I mentioned, or I probably didn't mention that yet. So when we move into this section of your life, you actually can end your character creation.
Okay.
Now, because the thing is, okay, so like Traveler, you're building your character, and every time you add another one of these things to your character, you're increasing the time that your character is essentially being built. So your character starts off, at this point you're probably like young adulthood, maybe?
Yeah, I was actually trying to figure out how old I was. If I was 16 here, added a year here, 17. I am so sorry. 18, 19, 20, 23 plus 5. I'm at 28.
28. So you're definitely young adulthood of some sort. You know, they might consider it something different. Not we're in the future.
Yeah.
But so
to me that is not young. To me that's not young adulthood. But I guess it probably technically is. But
yeah.
I don't consider myself. I mean, I'm 33.
Yeah.
And I guess I just considered myself a full-on adult. Young adults to me are like 18 to 23. I know 18-year-olds I guess are considered teenagers, but to me they're young adults.
Yeah.
Because they're out of high school and they're doing things. They're either going to college or they're going to work.
True. But well, okay, so you're in adulthood. Mm-hmm. Every time that you do something in this game, it adds more to your character.
And what were the options to continue?
The options were...
Did you say Yakuza? I'm not going to go Yakuza.
Ne'er-do-well, travel, tour duty, intersphere, or Yakuza. Now,
I think I'm going to stop where I am.
Yeah,
I don't
blame
like
you.
either of those. I like where I'm at.
Not only that, but as you develop your character... every time you add a career, it takes longer. You're getting more skills, but on the downside, the more you build your character, the more you add to your character, the more time you spend, it actually begins to drop your traits.
Oh,
as age sets in.
Yeah, no, forget that.
And so that's one of those things where I've known people who have made those grizzled veterans that have been in the military or something till they're 50, and they've got all these skills, but their stats are pretty low.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things. But yeah, so there is the general concept of the character creation as far as going through all that.
Okay, cool.
Let me go ahead and flip here a couple more. And, it's one of those things where you'll end up working with your GM and trying to figure out things. You'll end up finalizing your stats.
Now, I did have that trait earlier that was vehicle.
Yeah,
I had
let's
a vehicle 4,
and
then I also had the option for a custom vehicle. What exactly does that entail?
Okay, so your traits that you've gotten, some of them grow with the amount of times that you get them.
Okay.
So I'm looking for vehicle, or it's like custom vehicle. You can add certain bonuses and traits to them. But just looking at vehicle alone, we'll go there really quick. All right. Oh, goodness. Yeah. And this all this stuff I'm seeing as I'm passing through, I'm like, ooh, that looks cool. All right, so vehicle is given in a trait cost of 0 to 10.
Okay.
And your vehicle that you ended up with was what?
4.
4. Wow, that's kind of cool. You could, in and of itself, have your own medium battle mech.
Oh, yeah.
A medium aerospace ship. Or a heavy battle armor. That's interesting. But yeah, a medium battle mech. The battle armor is probably something equivalent to like an elemental suit or something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm down with having my own mech suit.
Having your own mech suit. Okay. So I'll let me see if I can see this. This trait determines the type of battle mech or other vehicles assigned to the character. The more points spent on this trait, the larger the vehicle assigned to the character. To find the maximum allowable weight, class, cross-reference the points of vehicle traits with the character's vehicle type on the vehicle class table. Blur. And yep. So there's that, and of course the custom vehicle, you could augment that and change it up and do some neat stuff to it.
Awesome.
And do you remember what your custom vehicle rating was?
I didn't have one.
Oh, so you just only had a 1 point in it.
It was just a trait, yeah.
Okay.
So I probably couldn't do too much custom.
Oh, okay. So basically, it allows you, like, from what I'm looking at, every nation has like its standard stock, mech.
Right.
Kind of like in the military, we have our standard stock weapon that is given to everyone in the infantry.
Yeah, the
like
M16 or whatever.
M16, the M1 Grand back in the day. This is like, so you have the option to look at what other mechs are within that size category of that nation and select. While if you didn't have that trait, you would have to go with the general mech.
Oh, okay, I see.
So that's kind of a cool thing. So you would have, if based on, I also think you got rank a couple times, or you definitely
a couple promotions.
Yeah, so you're an officer, so it'd be kind of cool to have a different mech than the rank and file.
Yeah. Cool.
So awesome. So here's the thing. So you've made it through character creation. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings with this game?
I thought it was kind of, without having actually played it, the character creation was pretty fun. I mean, there is some random, you kind of, parts are left to chance, but you can pick enough that you feel kind of in control of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I rolled, I feel like it rolled up a good character.
Yeah.
I kind of like, as opposed to D20 games, I like not necessarily rolling my stats.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that comes up later where you're actually rolling stuff, but I like rolling like the thresholds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm rolling for are more events, and it's part of the story building, because one of the hardest parts that I have in character creation is I never have a character concept when I come to a table to create a character.
Yeah. And so sometimes having a
more narrative
flow of something you can build helps.
Right. Helps.
Okay.
Because then I can get a better idea. Because even if I do have a character concept, this might create a conflict that I didn't think to. That's like one of the hardest things for me in like D&D. When I was rolling characters for D&D 5, it was trying to pick and you can roll for them, but I didn't like some of their backgrounds and stuff, and and I was having a hard time really fleshing anything out. I don't know, something about this, maybe because it wasn't so fantasy. Maybe I have a hard time with fantasy type concepts when it comes to developing a background, but these felt very
much more
real.
Organic.
Addiction is a problem.
Yeah.
The poverty in the prep school. These are all very currently real things that people struggle with, that I guess I felt like it was a little bit easier to put myself in the headspace.
Yeah. And I will, so for me though, with this game, there are things that jump out at me immediately. And that is, as it is with every game that is out there, a true test of whether a game is going to be good or bad is the GM. I'm going to toss that out there ahead of time. If you have a good GM it doesn't matter if you're playing, the worst game in the world, or if you're a bunch of guys sitting around goofing off and playing Sailor Moon RPG. If you have a good GM, it's going to be good.
Right.
So I want to go ahead and toss that little tidbit out there. So other things, though, that, jump out at me with character creation and in this game and in this universe. So you have this diverse government idea that allows for the conflict. But ultimately, this is a game that is about piloting mechs.
Right.
I mean, that is...
Well, see, and that's one of the things that kind of was... I will say that was interesting to me, that MechWarrior was like an actual thing that you chose. I would have thought that every character was going to be a mech pilot. But it sounds like you could potentially have a whole squad of people that are support classes, or your pilot that flies in the dropship and then your mech falls out of the dropship. It's not necessarily people that, whereas like in D&D, you have a party that's going into a direct conflict and you're all fighting, generally you're all in a a battle arena, whatever your setting is, you're all in there together.
Exactly.
Whereas it feels like from some of the options that were available that you might be the guy in the van.
Yeah.
You might be the guy in the chair, I think is what they call it in Spider-Man.
Well, it's like you might, current things from pop culture right now would be one person's the Punisher and one person's their Micro, the guy that sits back and makes all the gizmos and talks to them on the walkie-talkie.
Right. So you have your scientists, you have your ship pilots, you have your mech pilots, you have your there were infantry guys, you have the guys that are just in suits of armor, not necessarily mechs. But so that was different to me. That's exactly, because even in the RPGs that I've played video game wise, which I guess they're kind of different, but in video game RPGs, you still have your companions that are following you into a battle.
Yep.
They're not, the other guys aren't communicating with you, So.
And so it's one of those things where it's an RPG where what you have this primary point of people wanting to play a MechWarrior battle mech. And, the Battletech game came out first. MechWarrior followed. People wanted the drama of who was in the cockpit. And so it's a hard thing to wrap your mind around, that people had been playing Battletech and they wanted to know what happened to the pilots otherwise. But you come to this game and automatically you're like, I want my mech. I want to pilot my mech. Yeah, I want the radio chatter. I want the people that I'm talking to. I want the drama that I see in those, war movies.
Right.
But that's where also this game might fall into a one-trick pony kind of thing, where it is a game about conflict and giant mechs.
Right, and so the guy in the chair is always going to be the guy. He's never going to necessarily going to get the moment of glory or the, it's because it's about mech battles.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's everything in this game revolves around that. And so ultimately you might also end up in kind of a railroad situation where, not unlike Dark Heresy, where you're an Inquisitor, you go to a planet, you root out the heresy and you kill it. And that's every game. Yeah, unless you have a good GM, which was my caveat. But this is one of those games where otherwise, if you're like, okay, I have a bunch of guys. We have mechs. We invade a planet, or we're going to a planet to save people, or we're defending a planet from invading clan, and yada yada yada. Same game.
Yeah,
that's the problem that I see that could run into this.
Yeah, and I can see that would definitely be a thing.
But the thing is that even with that problem, I still love this setting.
Yeah.
I still have my figures. I still have my minis. I dream of going to, say, MechCorps down in Houston and hopping in one of those pods and seeing what mech I can pilot.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Because even me saying that, you can see that this game, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
We want a giant mobile walking death machine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that is character creation, and
I had
our
a good
follow-up
time.
discussion with that. So thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Yeah, for
and we will see y'all soon again for another one of these.
Always. You've been listening to Tome Travelers. Please subscribe to get our episodes as soon as they release. For more information about us, check out PassionNerdly.com, at PassionNerdly on Twitter and Instagram, as well as Facebook.com/PassionNerdly. Also, if you're interested in supporting our show, look us up at Patreon.com/PassionNerdly. Once again, thank you for listening.
This has been a production of the Southgate Media Group. For more podcasts like this one, head over to SouthgateMediaGroup.com.